Hey, Unchainers! This is Timmert, and you're listening to the Unchaining Me podcast. It's podcast time. Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be back. How's everyone doing? Thank you for choosing to listen to another episode of the Unchaining Me podcast. Thank you for being patient during my MIA seasons. And if this is your first time listening in, welcome to my podcast. I try to post as frequently as I can, as consistently as I can, although I don't promise, because I still haven't found my flow, and that is the truth. That is the reality. I do wear many hats in my life, and the truth is that the more I focus on content creating, yes, it does help my business. Yes, I do feel fulfilled for serving my community and putting positivity out there. But it comes at a price. It does cost me a level of presence that I want to maintain in my personal life with my children, with my husband, with my older kids and younger kids. So it's a trade-off, So there are seasons where I choose to just focus on my family, on my self-care, my mental health, and not so much on producing and churning content out and just sharing things. And I just choose to savor the moments, savor the days, the weeks. So I used to feel very guilty about that because what we learn is produce, be consistent, or else you won't succeed. Produce, be consistent, or else you won't succeed. And there's a truth to that. But I decided to be okay with paying the price on that angle, not on the other angle, because there's always a price to pay. There's always a trade-off. You don't get it all. Really, you can't. I don't understand, and I really don't preach the whole balance everything and eat your cake and have it at the same time. And by the way, that's the correct way to say it. Eating your cake and having it, because, that sounds more impossible, right? There's always something you give up to get something else. So, yeah, this is just a long explanation to why you may not get my podcasts every week. Sometimes you might, sometimes you may not. But I promise you this, whenever I feel the calling, the little small voice, which sometimes I do, and it could be a very busy week for me, and it may not be realistic for me to come to the studio and record something, and I just somehow do it because I don't know. I can't describe the urge. I think most of you know that still small voice that just tells you, do this, call someone, text someone, write this, or say this. I will do it. And more often than not, someone reaches out to me and says, I needed to hear this, or this helped me overcome this day, or this relationship breakup, or whatever the case may be. So I will listen to that voice and share whatever my intuition offers. So yeah, that said, today is June 1st. I did not plan to record this podcast. This is one of those days where I felt really incredibly strongly to share something after a client coaching session ended just about 10 minutes ago, and I felt like I need to put this out there in a podcast format so more women and men, can benefit from this. because one recurrent theme that I find in my clients is self-judgment. Oh my God. And I know how that is because I used to heavily judge myself, and it's still there. I don't claim to be free of it and immune to it. There is a critic in my mind. There is a judge in the court of my own mind. It is definitely less gruesome than it used to be, less frequent, and the the court sessions are much shorter, and I win now. I don't lose in those court battles now. I always walk out victorious. But that process of getting to this stage has taken me a long time, but it is doable. And I wouldn't change the journey for anything because it really did get me to be stronger, and it gave me the conviction to share how I did it and how I'm doing it and how I will continue to do it for the rest of my life until I take my last breath. Because that is what the journey is about. It's not about graduating. It's not about figuring it all out. Different phases of our lives bring different challenges. And somehow, as women especially, and sometimes men, we tend to internalize things. And judging ourselves tends to be a big thing for us, or a default, which is one of the lowest energies that we can feel. A very destructive, a very stressful kind of energy that we can feel, because it makes us to blame, the one to blame for everything going on. It also makes us the victim in a way. We're also at the receiving end of something. And at the same time, the irony is that at the same time, we're also to blame. So there's that irony there. So I wanted to just give some kind of context for why we do that. Why are we like this? Oh my gosh. I used to stand in front of mirrors throughout my 20s, really at different points in my 20s, and, to some extent early 30s. Whenever I would have those breakdown moments, those breakdown seasons, maybe after a relationship broke down or a friendship broke down, or I found myself in that zone of what the hell am I doing with my life? Why am I like this? And I would look at myself crying, eyes red and swollen, and I would say to myself, what is wrong with you? Like out loud, say that to myself about myself. What is wrong with you? Why can't you just figure it out? Figure yourself out. Why can't you just be good? Be okay? It just makes me tear up just thinking about those days, because deep down I really seriously thought something was wrong with me. I battled with mental health issues for a while. I thought that made me somehow less than or somehow defective. But then also on a deeper level than that, I thought I just wasn't meant to feel joy or happy or bliss or calm or success. So I want to say what wasted energy, but then I know those moments were crucial in my conviction to heal. Without those moments, I wouldn't have clawed my way to heal. And I hope I'm speaking into someone's ears right now who is asking herself or himself the same question, like, what is wrong with me? Why do I keep repeating the same pattern? Why do the same things happen to me? Why am I back here again? I hope you know the benefit or the reason of this repetitive rhythm of why you find yourself in these moments of what is wrong with me. Or why am I like this? The reason is you just have to keep asking yourself this question often enough times for you to really treat it as a question. The truth is that when you first ask it, it's not really a question. It's really a judgment. Yes, there is a question mark at the end of it, but it's not really a question. You're really saying to yourself, I'm no good. When you say, why am I like this? You're not really trying to find out why. When you say, what is wrong with me? You're not really trying to find out what is really wrong. You're not curious. You're being judgmental. So it's really like an insult. It's really like really casting judgment upon yourself. But the more you keep asking it, consciously and subconsciously, more subconsciously at first, something starts to click. The why starts to resound louder and louder. And then you start digging. And then you start asking. And you start looking in places maybe you haven't looked before. In relationships that maybe you haven't looked before. Maybe in your childhood. Maybe in your experiences. Maybe in the way you talk to yourself. Maybe in memories that you maybe didn't think too much about, but you start looking at them differently and said, maybe that affected me. I was a little girl. Yeah, I was a little boy, but it probably did something to me. Oh, okay, let me read something about that. Let me read an article. Let me listen to a podcast. Let me read a book. And then you dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And before you know it, you start answering that question. Before you know it, you know why you are the way you are. Before you know it, you know that it's not about what's wrong with you. It's about what happened to you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. As crazy as it may sound, I would say this to anyone. I would say this to a murderer. I would say this to someone who just randomly shot people. There's nothing wrong with a person, with a human being, because our experiences make us. Our experiences shape us. Nobody was born into being negative or being any kind of messenger of destruction or negativity just because they carry a gene or a DNA of negativity or destruction of self or of other. We are taught it. We are conditioned it. You can read all about early brain development and what trauma does to it, what our early stages of conditioning and forming our ideas and beliefs of ourselves and of others and of the world do to us or for us, depending on who is forming those beliefs for us. You can read all about it. The book I recommend, highly, highly, highly recommend, I can't say this enough, is What Happened to You by Oprah and Dr. Perry, I believe. It is really, I would say, the only book you need to read. It's not too scientific, it's not too technical, but just enough to understand why you are the way you are. Why are you a people's pleaser? That was something I grappled with most of my life. Like, why do I say how high when someone says jump? Forget that. Even without someone saying jump, I literally say how high, or I just jump. Decide how high, and it's probably too high. I remember I'm the first to volunteer for anybody needing anything, or I'm the first to anticipate a need and meet it, over meet it. because I equated my value to how much of service I could be to others, especially when I anticipated I would rank lower than others. I thought my worth would be how much I could serve. That's it. What else can I bring to the table, I thought, other than me serving? And that belief about myself, about the world, about the hierarchy of things, about service, about love and approval and the conditionality of all those things was taught to me. And when I started asking myself, why am I the way I am? Instead of asking myself, what is wrong with me? Then the answers started coming. Then therapy started helping. Instead of being some session, I go in and just vent. Then I actually started doing the work. And then all the tools I needed came to me. Then I started going deeper and asking myself, okay, what specifically are my beliefs about life, about the world, about success, about time, about money? And how are these beliefs showing up in my life? How are they affecting me? So that's what I want to share with you today. And they may not, be exactly the same for you. But, take what serves you, take what resonates, and leave what does not. What I learned later on when I was taking my coaching certification course was that your internal blocks, or things that keep you from being who you want to be, showing up the way you want to show up, or achieving things that you want to achieve, be it in relationships or career success, really anything, peace and health, whatever, are mainly 4 categories or 4 types of blocks internally. There could be many blocks externally, your location, geographical location. There could be, material things that you may not have, or support you may not have, or money, resources, or people, right? But these are internal within you, not really tangible things externally. The first one is the inner critic, or the gremlin. It can also be just the self-judgment we're talking about. These just come out of nowhere. Let's put out of nowhere in quotations, because we know by now that they do come out of somewhere. If you really change the what's wrong with me to what happened to me and really make it a question, then you get to the root of it. And that is what coaching is about, helping you to get to the root of it and helping you identify it, name it. Naming it helps you determine that it's not you. You're not it. It has its own identity. It helps you determine why it was formed, why it's here today. What is it trying to protect you from? And how can you utilize its energy to instead help you, not hold you back? But then that's what coaching does for you. That's the gremlin. It tells you you're not enough. This is too much for you. You can't handle this. You're not capable. You're not pretty enough. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. You're not talented. You're not brave. You don't have courage. You're timid. You can't speak. That inner critic is your gremlin. The other category of inner blocks is your assumptions. You make assumptions. Assumptions are really about things that have happened in your past, or really in someone else's past, because these things can also come from other people, but they become yours when you accept them, right? Especially in our culture, we lean a lot on other people's opinions and what they say to us because of our communal nature of living. And while that communal nature of living is supportive in some instances, this over relying on other people's opinions also makes us take too much of someone else's thinking into ours without really filtering it to see if it serves us or not, to see if it's ours or not. So it makes us so conditionable. It makes us, we're already conditionable as children, so we take so much from our parents and environment and as, religious leaders or other influencers, extended family. But then even as adults, we're so conditionable because of that communal reliance on other people's opinions and caring about what other people say to a greater degree than any other really community that I've seen so far. So if someone else went through something in the past and got out of it something negative or failed, then we assume that we too will face similar fate. Or if we went through something like that or attempted something and failed, then we assume that doing that again or attempting that again will yield similar results. That is an assumption. I applied for this job last time and I failed the interview, or they didn't even call me for an interview. So I'll do it again and same thing will happen again. Oh, last time I dated out of my race, it failed miserably and that's going to happen again. Oh, so-and-so broke up with her ex. So if I get back together with my ex, it's going to blow up in my face. Assumptions. So we assume something happened a certain way means it will happen that same way again. That's an assumption. The other category is interpretations. Interpretations are the way we internalize and make a belief out of a situation, but we pass them through a set of filters, our own unique set of filters, and we interpret what they mean. And this is different for different people. This is different for you. It could be different for me. It will definitely be different for someone else. So it could be really one thing that has happened and different people see different things. That is interpretation. You, for example, your boss comes into the meeting and barely says hello to anyone, and you and your colleagues may interpret that there will be bad news for the team at the meeting, or maybe later that day. Actually, maybe the boss's state of mind may be driven by something completely different, and you don't know. Your husband says okay to a text you sent, maybe a long text where you emptied your heart. Maybe he was in a meeting then. Maybe he was driving, maybe he was pulled over then, and he didn't have the time to tell you, or he didn't have the time to respond, or he wasn't in a position to. The interpretation is he hates me, he doesn't love me, he doesn't care about my feelings. So interpretation is basically the meaning we create about an event or a situation or an experience. Because our brains have evolved to devise a quick story based on whatever beliefs we have, whatever we believe about a story. Because we need fast responses to things, if we hear something in the forest, like leaves or branches in the forest, it's not going to help us to sit there and consult our logical, critical thinking brain of what it could potentially be or what it could not. We need to move into fight or flight quickly enough. In order to do that, we need to interpret really the fastest and worst case scenario so we can jump into flight, fight, or freeze. Unfortunately, we use that same thing in our social, career, and self-development and personal development areas. We use those interpretations in our relationships, which cannot be translated in that way. It just does not work. The last one is limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are like I sometimes like to call them like God's word. This is the word of God. I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm not going to ask any questions about it. This is how it is, and I'm going to take it exactly how it is, and it's going to apply to everything exactly how it is. Limiting beliefs are like that. We've taken them how we've heard them, we've accepted them, and they somehow rule our lives. And what we don't see is that they're limiting us. And we may not be able to see that. It's a very interesting block. And this is one that can really drain the motivation out of us. This is a belief that because something about the world, other people, situations, and in life in general, and it can stop us from getting what we want. Like, for example, it's impossible to date and find someone here in America. I hear some Ethiopians, Eritreans say, you have to go find someone back home, or you can't find a serious life mate here. Limiting belief. They won't hire someone who doesn't speak English as a first language. Limiting belief. You've already believed that about this place or about the world. Showing emotion is a sign of weakness. This is a limiting belief for a lot of men. They have believed that. Old habits are hard to break. It's a belief. And many people are victim to that. So before you judge yourself in a blanket fashion, before you tell yourself, why am I this way? Why am I like this? What is wrong with me? The takeaway that I would love for you to take from this podcast is to, first of all, change that why am I like this to a question. Not a statement, not a judgment. Truly make it a curious question. Why? Why could it be? If there's a what is wrong with me, change it to a what happened to me. What was it about my upbringing? What was it about my experiences? What was it about things that have happened to me that gave me the platform to have these beliefs about myself, about the world, about people around me, that I am now using to behave in such ways, that I am now using to think in such ways, that I am now using to experience such emotions. There is always a source for the energies you're experiencing. Always. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. That is the law of the universe. You are no exception to that. I am falling in love with energy and how it all works. My coaching has been revolutionized by focusing on the person's energy, the person that I'm coaching. I don't coach the problem. I don't coach the complaint. I coach the energy of the person. So you also follow that energy. Where did it come from? When did I first experience this? And then ask yourselves, which one of these is it? Is it a gremlin? Is it an inner critic towards myself? And so, when did it first appear? Why did it first appear? What was I experiencing when it first came to me? When I first felt it? What could it have been trying to protect me from? Why is it here now? Can I realize that it's not me? That it's not a part of, that it's not a part, like it's not me. It has its own identity. And that I can use its energy for something different to actually help me? Is it rather an assumption? Is it from my past or someone's past that I've assumed it would be the same now? How can I challenge that? Is everything the same right now? Am I the same person right now? What different experiences do I have now? How has time changed now? How has time changed me in the world now? So I can't really compare the past and now, can I? It will be comparing apples and oranges. So, okay, there's that. I'm not saying it's going to be that easy, okay? I'm just giving you tips for you and you, one of you, two of you, who is ready and fertile for this information, for this wisdom. You will grab it and run with it. You will apply it. And for those of you who may not be ready, this will be a seed. At least next time you're tempted, seduced into thinking, what's wrong with me? Hopefully you'll challenge yourself to think, what happened to me? Next time you think, why am I like this? Hopefully you will challenge yourself to make it a real question and not a statement. And then you can also ask yourself, is this an interpretation? How differently can I interpret it? Because if you're the person who's wearing the filter, you can change the filter, right? Just like going on Instagram and choosing whatever filter you desire, whatever filter you fancy. You wear blue colored glasses, the world looks blue. All you gotta do for the world to look red is put on red colored glasses. So your interpretations are yours, and you have the power to change them. So ask yourself, what would a different interpretation be? And what could that serve me with? And if that's a better way, then why not change it? If it serves you to interpret your boss's gruesome face or long face in a way that doesn't make you anxious, for example, oh, your wife was probably, mad that morning, and that makes you feel better, then take that interpretation. I would, if it makes me feel less anxious. Right? If I can interpret my husband's okay response as he's probably in a tough meeting right now and his manager's giving him grief, I would take that instead of being anxious and taking it out on my little kids. Or instead of being angry and then he gets out of his office and, I take that negativity and take that energy and add even worse things to it, and then that snowballs into a terrible weekend. I would rather interpret it in a positive way. What else can you do? If it's a limiting belief, ask yourself, what if it didn't limit me? What if I chose a different belief? Same like interpretation, similar to that at least. But the thing about beliefs are they are deeper rooted. So it also takes higher energy, higher conviction to unroot them. Because beliefs are more deeper. Beliefs are more, stronger. There's more energy backing them up versus an interpretation about a single incident that happened that day that you will forget about later. But these are really agreements you've made. Limiting beliefs are. So I would work with a coach. I would work with a counselor. I would journal. Really, journaling makes these subconscious beliefs come out. You would be surprised when you read back what you've written a couple of weeks ago or a year ago or a couple of days ago even. You'd be like, I think this way? I wonder where that came from. What did I experience that day that made me feel this way and write this? And really, there is no better journey to be on than this journey of self-awareness and getting to know yourself and really curiously excavating the you that is buried underneath all of this conditioning, all of these layers of what you thought you were, what we thought we were. You graduate high school, you go to college, you get a degree, you get a job, you get married, you have kids, and you get money and a car and a house, and then paychecks and paychecks and paychecks and paychecks, and then you die. Really? Is that really what life is about? I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this podcast, you at some point in your life ask this question. Is that really all there is to it? Or is there a deep dive into something different? Is there more to me? Is there more to life? Because you're seeing it bubble up in your friendships, in your relationships, in your emotions. Something's nudging you. There's a little small voice telling you, this feels uncomfortable. You need to go in deeper. There's a calling here. You need to know more. There's a lie you've been told. There's something more you haven't been shown. Your soul is craving to learn things, to unlearn some things. So be about that journey. It's exciting. It's interesting. It's exciting. It can be challenging at times, but all that challenge really adds to the beauty of it and the strength of it in the end. So yeah, I feel so good. This was what I felt in my heart to unload on you. And it's out there now. Well, once I publish this and go about my day, I hope you have a beautiful rest of the week. I have an Instagram live planned for Friday, the day after tomorrow. I will post it on my Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to be talking about energy and coaching energy. How do we use energy to show up better in our lives? How do we know how we show up right now for ourselves, for the people around us, in our relationships, at work, just generally in the world? What energy do we show up with? And how's that serving us or not? I want to share everything that I've learned with you guys and how I incorporate it into my coaching practice. So it's been a while since I went live. So it'd be a nice reconnecting opportunity with all of my listeners and my followers. I look forward to it. I will keep you updated about time. It will be on Instagram. And can't wait. A lot of exciting things planned for the summer. I'm going to be in Ethiopia in July, in Addis. There will definitely be an event there. I'm not yet sure what day. Still working out event venue plans. I will let you know how that's going to go. So can't wait to see everybody in Addis. Look forward to being there. It's been so long since I was there. What else? There's other things too, but don't have clear info right now for most of them. So I will let you know as everything unfolds. And that's it. Keep unchaining until I see you next time.
And don't forget to support by liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing with your family and friends. Thank you so much, and see you with the next episode.